guys, welcome back to the Honey Pop. My name is Brittany. I am the director of photo and digital media. And today we are going to be talking to OSTON. She is an LA singer-songwriter. We did talk to her previously a year ago for her EP called Am I Talking Too Much? It's still one of our favorite EPs that have been released in recent times. But she is back and she has released her third EP called Melancholia. It is an amazing EP that really talks about your 20s and feeling kind of in limbo with growing up and having to just do adult stuff and adult things. And we really relate to the EP and are so stoked that she is back and releasing more music. And so let's get into the interview. Okay, so hello, welcome back to the Honey Pop. We're super excited you're here. So last we talked to you, you had just released your sophomore EP, Am I Talking Too Much? Which I still have on repeat, honestly. Like I still love it so much. But how has life changed for you since the release of that EP?
Well, first of all, thank you for still listening to it. That means a lot to me. Um, how has my life changed? I feel like it's changed a lot in the sense of being an artist. I think I've accomplished a lot of like goals that I set for myself that I wanted to hit. Like I think putting the project out allowed me to go on a couple tours that I like really wanted to go on, and because I had released that project and there were some people that had found me through like whether it was TikTok or like their release radar or whatever it was. I feel like there was a lot more people coming to those shows, which was amazing. I got to play Lollapalooza actually 2 years in a row because I sang a song with Jordy this last year. um my project, my writing, I guess, connected me with so many people, artists and songwriters that I've really looked up to for years that I've gotten the chance to write with. I signed my first pub deal. I got my first distribution deal for my like so many things I think that I was really just like, I hope that happens someday, have kind of fallen into place. So a lot has changed in a year, and it actually is a really good thing that I'm saying all of this out loud because I never actually like reflect on that in a positive way. So thank you for asking.
No, for sure. Like I've been following you since like we had that interview, and like you've grown so rapidly. Like I don't even know how to put it into words because like I'm really proud of you. So
Oh my God,
because
thank you.
it's like I saw the sophomore EP. I personally loved it. So I was like, I need other people to love it, please. Like, because it's really good. And then you went on tours and I was at Lollapalooza, so I got to see you in 2021. I didn't go like this past year, but so yeah, like putting it kind of all into perspective and like listing it off, it's like a lot has happened. And it's really cool. Like it's really good.
Yeah, it's strange because I think just as humans, we all do this thing where we look at the road ahead and we're like, oh, I'm not where I wanted to be. I'm not where I thought I would be. And that's always the mindset I'm in, is like what I don't have and what other people are doing that I'm not doing. And I don't know. I don't know what it is about today, but I'm feeling a little positive. Maybe it's because I played my first headline show last night and I'm still like riding that high or something. But yeah, I think I've accomplished a lot in a year. There's still so much further to go, but I could stand to like give myself a pat on the back more often than I do.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Because I think a lot of us get that way. Because I know I personally get that way too.
Yeah.
Um, it's very unfortunate because then I like look back at the past year for myself, and I'm like, yeah, like there's a lot that's kind of happening that's kind of negative. But it's like, but look at what you were doing last year, and look what you're doing right now. Like
Yeah.
it's good. You've like our path isn't all like linear. Like it kind of goes up and down, and you might be kind of at a down, but it's like you were up and you're gonna be up again. You're on like the trajectory of like coming back up again. So Yeah,
Right. And I think it's also hard being in the creative industry because our paths don't look the same as like somebody who works a typical job where you can like progress in that field. And um yeah, it's difficult. There's low lows and high highs for sure.
definitely. So, kind of going, you mentioned TikTok again. So we in our last interview, we kind of talked about like pros and cons about TikTok, and just recently what's his face got a lot of momentum on TikTok, which I was super excited to see because I do like that song. So have you figured out the balance of using the platform, and do you have any
Oh.
advice for young artists who might be struggling?
It's it's just a beast of its own, man. Like I don't really remember what I said about it last time, probably something very similar to how I'm feeling now, which is just like I love it and I hate it. Um yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like my song What's His Face was a song that I wrote for the purpose of like feeling better. I just needed to write it and I wasn't necessarily planning to put it out. And then when I posted it on TikTok and yeah, it did better than anything I've ever posted. Like the numbers shot up and like I posted it on Instagram as well and that did very well. And then it got like the most pre-saves I've ever gotten in my entire life, which was insane. Um, but it was weird because there was a time where I would post and it was just like a slot machine. Like every time I would like open my Instagram or my TikTok, I would have so many notifications and I'd have people being like, "We love this song, you're so good, blah 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 blah," just like really feeding my ego. So after that song kind of like had its life and stopped and I started posting teasers for my next song 20 nothing that I put out and it wasn't getting the same response. It was really really hard because it was like I was on this huge high that just like plummeted to like promoting the song that I was so proud of, but like nobody was really understanding it or grasping it the same way. And it's really dangerous. I feel like it's the nature of that platform. It's like sometimes you have moments where you pop off and people care so much, and then the next day you could post something and like my views right now are extremely low. And I'm trying to figure out how to not put so much self-worth in that because at the end of the day, it's a social media platform. Just because I post a video and it doesn't like get a bunch of views doesn't mean that like my songs are any less good or that I'm working any less hard. It's just the algorithm. Um, but it's really toxic. And I think my advice for people would be the same thing I'm trying to convince myself of, which is just your self-worth is not based off of how many people view your video. It's hard to like tell yourself that though, because it hurts.
No, and I agree. So I mean, I still love TikTok. I'm still using TikTok, but I have seen, especially like recently, like it fluctuates so much.
Mhm.
Um and like things come on my For You page and all that kind of stuff because I use TikTok more for You page because I'm trying to find other stuff. Like I'm really trying to find especially music and things. Because like with the honey pop, we're always trying to find like the next person.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so even like coming as like a viewer, I've seen it to where it's like we saw your numbers do really well for what's his face, and I was super happy about that. And then like even with 20 nothing, I was like, where are y'all? Where'd you go? But it's also I understand it. I don't have to like it, but it is one of those platforms, and I think it just how do I word it? So like even with like Instagram, I don't consider those numbers to be hugely drastic. Like in my mind frame, like if I don't have a good picture on Instagram, it doesn't bother me as much anymore.
TikTok does.
But TikTok would, but I think there's gonna be kind of I don't know how to word it. It's just like I love TikTok and I do hate it. Like hate like it's the algorithm, and I don't know how anyone can like get by it.
It
Um
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I think something I really need to stop doing is like looking at other creators that have around the same like base that I do, or like even a little bit less. And some of them will be posting videos that consistently get like really high numbers and really high engagement. So when I see that and I compare it with mine, it just really hurts. And I think the biggest thing to note is like we live in an industry, in the music industry these days, where people are just like, that's all they care about is like you take a meeting and people are like, how are your TikTok numbers? How's your engagement? How's your Instagram engagement? How's your Spotify listenership? And it's hard not to put so much value on that. Um, but something I've really been trying to focus on is going back to the music and making sure that I love the music that I'm making instead of trying to write something for its like TikTok ability, which is never something I've necessarily done. But obviously, when I wrote What's His Face, I had this gut feeling of like, this is something that people could latch onto versus, you know, my song Nothing About Anything that's really sad and slow and quiet, not as much. So I don't know. I'm trying to just focus on the fact that I want to be an authentic artist and make stuff that I love, and the people who find it will find it. And hopefully something will happen besides TikTok that will get us back to that authentic music making and get people, I don't know, in touch with that side of artistry again. So
No, I agree because I mean, TikTok isn't everything. Yeah, it's where everything kind of launches sometimes for people,
yeah.
but I don't like I use TikTok to find people, but I'm not like listening to their stuff obviously on TikTok usually because you go to like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever platform, or like you buy the vinyl or whatever. So I think that is actually good advice to try not to look at the numbers, try not to like focus so much and so heavily on it, even though that it's literally hard. You're saying it, but it's like, how do you even?
Yeah, I don't even believe that. I get so down on myself
Yeah,
about it. So I can't tell somebody else not to
yeah,
be upset when I am.
yeah.
But the process.
Oh, for sure. And I think eventually we will get back to the authentic music because that's kind of um why I like your music, is because it feels like that. How do I word it? Like that genuine, just coming from the heart. And that's the kind of music I like personally, because it does kind of hit you in your feels a little bit. um but yeah, so that's why I like your music, is because it does kind of hit in that realm that we don't really see as much right now, because a lot of people are writing for the TikTok algorithm on who can use the song and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, they're good. Like, don't get me wrong, they're super good and they're catchy and I love them, but I want those, like the ones that make me want to cry.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's like some artists that nail that so well, and that's just like a genre in its own. And I've also seen like, there's been songs that have blown up on TikTok that are absolutely beautiful and amazing. Like I'm wearing his boxers. That song that just
Yes.
like was everywhere. It's in my head all the time. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. TikTok is a beast. Like I said, it's a beast of its own. I don't think anyone understands how it works.
I don't even think the people who started TikTok understand like
Oh,
what it's doing. Like
they're
they're kind
probably
of like,
like,
uh,
what's
we
going
gave it to
on?
y'all.
Yeah,
You're like,
literally.
y'all just use it. Like we gave it to y'all. That's our job done.
And we ruined it. We made it toxic, but it's fine.
No, it's fine. So moving along, you played your first headline show last night. Congratulations. Like that was super exciting. I could not be there because I don't live in LA right now. So I'm
Where do you
super
live
sad.
right now?
I live in Houston and I am trying to get to LA. So that's the plan for next year. Um, but yeah, I was super sad when the email came and I was like, I can't go. I was like, I'm so sad I have to work.
Well, I'll come to Houston
Yes,
someday. I know
come to
it.
Houston. But yeah, so we got to see videos and photos from the fans who were able to make it to the show. So I want to ask you, how was it for you being on stage and headlining for the first time?
Uh, incredible. It was very surreal, honestly. I think like this last week building up to the show was actually really hard for me. I was just very like in my head, very stressed, just thinking about like everything that could possibly go wrong. Um, just thinking like because I knew that there were a handful of people flying out from the East Coast to come see the show, and that was like a whole nother piece of pressure in itself because I was like, these people, they bought plane tickets to come see this, like I better put on a great show. It was just a lot of pressure, but yesterday was it just went better than I could have ever imagined. Like there was an incredible crowd. So many of my friends and family came out to support. And I saw them in the audience just like singing everything back to me. There was a moment where we played my song Nothing About Anything that just came out on my EP. It's like literally just a guitar vocal song. And I remember saying to my manager before I went on stage, like, I really hope people don't talk during that song. Like I hope they can just like be there and enjoy it. And he looked at me and he was like, but like you should expect that they will talk and that's okay. Like just sing to the people in the front row that are there for you and like it's okay. Just like, give it your all. And we played the song and nobody fucking talked. Like you could literally hear a pin drop except for the people that were like singing every word in the front, and it was just this surreal moment where I was like, damn, I didn't realize that there's actually people that listen to the music because they want to and are here because they want to be and not just because I like begged them to come out on my social media. So I don't know, it was just really important for me to see that it's one thing to look at numbers on your phone. It's another to see the real people there singing your music and actually like being present. So yeah, it was amazing. It was better than I could have asked for.
No, that makes me so happy because like that's also something that you're gonna take until the end of your life. Like you're always gonna remember like your first headliner. You were
Yeah.
super nervous about that. And that one song that you really wanted to go a certain way and it did. And it kind of just shows you that like your music is good and these people are here because they want to. Like they're super excited for you and you're just I don't know. Like every release you do, I'm just like, God, like this is another banger. Like
Thanks.
even the sad songs, I'm like, ouch, like this hurts, but it's a banger. Like it's good.
I'm really proud of this EP. I think I just really tried to not hold anything back and just be as vulnerable and honest as I could. And it seems like people embrace that because all of the people that listen to my music are equally as sad and emo as I am. So
Yeah, I am. Yes. Agreed.
yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about why we're here. Your new EP is out. It's called Melancholia. I think that's how you
Yes.
say it. Okay. I was like, I've never actually said that word out loud before. So
Melancholia. No, you got it.
so my favorite song at this moment in time is Mouthwash. So
Yay.
can you take us through the track and what you hope fans will take away from it?
Yes. My face hurts from smiling so much. Ugh, Mouthwash. So that song actually was written really recently. I had like the whole track list for the EP put together. And it was like done and ready to get sent off to production stages and everything and finalized. And I had a session in my calendar with my friend Gucci Caliente, her name's Emily, and my boyfriend Drew. And I don't know, we just kind of like started writing this like song about how I was feeling at the time, which was extremely chaotic. I recently started going to therapy to try to deal with panic attacks that I have very often because I get so anxious and I get so worked up. And we were talking about that feeling and how I just feel like it all kind of builds up inside of me and I don't know what to do and I just get so like ugh, and I was just doing this with my hands and I was like I want it to be like this and Drew was like yeah absolutely and like I don't know the crazy like drop chorus kind of just was like my brain vomit of like that's how I feel. um and yeah, the song came together so fast. We walked away at the end of the session with like the full thing done. And I decided I had to pick a song that was already on my EP to have it replaced because I just couldn't part with it. So a different one got kicked off, Mouthwash got put on it, and I think it was the perfect like finalization of that project. I think it brought the whole thing together.
No, and I think that's true. Like I think it was kind of what the EP needs is mouthwash. And also you kind of put it in the middle. Is there a reason why you put it in the middle?
It's kind of like the progression of my thoughts. Like the whole project is just an arc of like me leaving Chicago, getting out of a toxic relationship, having lots of panic attacks, hating being alone, and then out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't know, I thought it made sense in the middle, just kind of being like this bit of chaos until you get to the smoother arc, you know what I mean?
No, I mean it fits. So I was like it actually fits really well when you're because I listen to new albums, especially or EPs from like top to bottom. Like
As you said,
I don't shuffle until like really know the album like and I've lived with it for a while, then I'll shuffle it and I'll like pick my favorite. But like when we first get like music or I see someone has released something or a new project, I always listen top to bottom no matter what. Because
it
there's a
drives me
reason.
crazy when people don't do that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like the artist did that for a reason. They
Mhm.
want you to listen in that order.
Oh yeah, there's usually a story. Not always, but a lot of writers usually have a storyline kind of like it's not always as like noticeable until you're listening from like top to bottom and you're just
Yeah.
like, okay, that thread I just saw, like that's weird. Why what's that? And then you dive
Especially
in.
when you have the singles, like you
Mhm.
listen to the singles and you're like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. This is different than what they put out last time. And then you get the whole project and you get to sit with it and it's like, okay, everything makes sense now. It's really beautiful.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. I think I don't disagree with others who like to just shuffle and find their singles that they like, but that's not really how I do things.
Not your jam.
That's not my jam.
Yeah.
So I don't, and I've always been that way, even when we had like actual CDs and we were playing them. Like I never skipped unless like I've lived with it a long time and I just really don't like that song. But
Yeah.
it's really hard to get me to not like a song because I usually can see like the beauty in it all. So I usually am like, I might not really jam with this one, but like I see why, like why it's
Love
here.
that.
So, but yeah.
I can't say the same for me. I'm so picky.
Well, no, because like my friends are like, oh, like put a playlist together of all your favorite songs. And it's like literally a mismatch of like so many different genres. And they're like, what is this? Like,
That's how it should be.
I'm like, no, I like some country. Like, I don't really listen to country a lot, but like I love some of it. And then I'll have like pop punk and then pop. And then like there's very few rap, but like there's some hip
Yeah.
hop, there's R&B, there's like a bunch like oldies too. Like Elton John will usually pop in there and they're like, what is this? Like you just had Jonas
It's
Brothers
Elton
and then Elton
John.
John. And I was like, because it's Elton John.
Eclectic. We love
Like,
it.
yeah, I'm like, he's a legend. I don't understand.
Yeah, that's how my library is too. When I put it on shuffle, it's a little bit of everything, but I feel like that's good. It's good to like not just live in the current time period that
Mhm.
we're in right now. It's good to go back and get some like reference and I don't
Oh,
know, relive
definitely.
that.
Because I mean, everyone kind of finds inspiration from people who've done this before. And so it's nice to kind of hear those and be like, oh yeah, like I see where they listen to this and they're like, oh, that's a cool riff or something, or they're like, I want to put that kind of production in my music, or oh, we could like add on to this. And I'm just like, that's so cool. Like,
Yeah,
because my brain doesn't hear those things. So I'm just like, it sounds like a cool song.
but you appreciate it and you
Oh
can
yeah.
find that stuff when you listen to it, which is equally as important.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think music is just so fun and it's heartbreaking, but it's so much fun. Like it's
The best
beautiful.
thing ever, dude.
Mhm. Okay, so let me move on because I'll talk about this for a long
I know, same.
time. Okay, so the EP is mainly about how your 20s kind of suck. Um, so I'm at the end of my 20s, and I definitely agree. So your 20s do kind of suck, but there are a lot of beautiful moments that you can kind of take on as you're kind of coming out of your 20s, but then also there's kind of a lot of heartbreak and low moments that just because you're learning, like you're really just learning how to be an adult, and it's really hard. So what
Yeah.
have you personally learned from creating the EP and kind of diving into those um types of feelings and then feeling like you're in limbo at this point?
You know, I think a lot of this project for me was like trying to convince myself that I am a certain way and that I need to like take responsibility for it. Um, 'Cause I mean, there's so many things about myself that I'm just like such a work in progress that I would like to fix every day. Like I said, like with mouthwash. Realizing that I should have been in therapy years ago. And all my friends always tell me, like, having constant panic attacks and anxiety attacks is not normal and it's not healthy. And maybe you should like talk to someone about that. And actually, after I wrote that song, that was kind of like a wake up call for me to do that. And then, for instance, when I was writing 20 Nothing, I was having this big freak out about turning 26 because I'm about to turn 26 in October. And I know it's stupid, but it's the whole like kind of like growing up officially and like getting your own insurance, getting your own healthcare, getting all of your own stuff. And like I had to register my car here and become a citizen of California and it's or a resident, I guess. And all of those little tasks that seem so easy, but like as I'm faced with them, it's like I was trying to figure out how to renew my license and I had to go to the DMV and I literally had a full blown like crying session about it and I was talking to my mom on the phone and she was like, everyone, everyone makes it through. Like everyone who is past 26 has done everything that you're doing and it's gonna be okay. And I don't know, I think I can just be a baby about stuff sometimes. And this project was kind of just me, like I said, like writing it all down and saying, here's all my thoughts, here's the things that I would like to change about myself. And I think after having written them and listening back to them, I've gained a lot of perspective and I see the ways that I need to grow up a little bit. Um, yeah, I needed to write it down on paper and hear it back being sung to myself to really let that sink in. But that is essentially all this project is just seeing this version of yourself that you so badly want to be and being here yourself and not being able to make the two versions meet and trying to figure out if that's even a possibility to like be the best version of yourself or if we're always just a work in progress.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm turning 29 this year. Like it's awful, but like yeah, I'm turning 29 this year in December. So um see or hearing this EP definitely like kind of took me back to those moments where I was like 25 because like sometimes feel like I'm still 21. Like there are
Yeah.
still like I might have my own apartment. I might have like a 9 to 5 and I'm doing this honey pop thing and I'm doing all these things and it's like I still feel like a child. Sometimes my like boss will email me or even like publicists will email me and be like, "You want to do this?" And I'm like, "I'm a child." Like, I don't know.
I can do that. I'm a
And I'm just
kid.
like, "I'm not allowed." And then it's like, "No, you're literally about to be 30." Like
Isn't it
you're an adult.
strange? Yeah, and it's like it really it puts things into perspective. You know, even like a lot of my friends in my friend group are in their 30s, like mid 30s even, and still if I had to guess how old they were by maturity, I would probably guess around like 23 because it's like especially working in this industry too, I feel like we just we don't want to grow up and it's a really weird thing, like aging and you can't do anything about it at all.
No.
So,
You just kind of have to roll with it.
It's
And
a roll with it, and it's hard for all of us. It's like scary for all of us, but it is what it is, I guess.
yeah, it's definitely scary, but I think the feelings from this EP, they're true. Like they happen. Like unfortunately it does. I mean, you've said it in your EP. Like this is what you're going through. But it does get better. Sometimes I kind of go back and I'm like, "Oh no, this is how I feel still." But then in other ways I don't. So like I after you do something like you buy a car. Like I bought a car now. So
Mm.
I now know how to buy a car. Like it's I think it's the scariness of like having to do stuff and then you're doing it on your own. So like it's not like you have your parents or like I mean you still have your parents and like your support system to be like, okay, do this. Like
But they're like, you're in your 20s. Can you
yeah.
like,
But it's
there's
like
like Google it.
yeah, it's like Google it. I mean, I use Google all the time. So if
Yeah.
I don't know how to do something, someone will ask me and I'm like, well, never done that before. So Google, like, let's figure it out. And might have a panic attack or anxiety attack about it, but you'll get through it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of
Yeah.
sucks, but
We all will. And that's the thing too, is like I 100% am aware that I am not alone in feeling this way. And something that I've really appreciated is just people reaching out to me about this EP and saying like I wrote down exactly how they were feeling and like they feel seen. And I think that to me, especially more than my last project, because my last project was I'm so proud of it still to this day, but it was a lot more about like love and
Mhm.
maturity and things like that, whereas this is like such a real raw part of my like growing up in my 20s, and I think so many of my listeners are going through that exact same stage of life. So it was really awesome to just like feel seen in that way.
No, I agree too, because I don't think a lot of music actually touches on it. Like, I don't if I go back into the archives of like my brain and music I've heard, I don't think I've really ever heard anyone put it to music to be like this is how we feel in our 20s. Like I don't think anyone's ever touched on that topic before, and I think that's why a lot of people resonate with it is because they're like this is literally my diary entry. Like you took it out of my brain.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what some people have been saying, and it's like I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels like this because it does not feel good
no, it does
a lot
not.
of the time. Sometimes it
But
does.
but we will all get through it. It'll be fine.
Well,
It's just life. Just life.
it's life. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about the your song Nothing About Anything. It's a demo. So how do you decide to kind of slide in a demo with your other tracks on your projects?
It was hard to make that decision. Um, I love this story actually. So this was another day where I had a panic attack. Surprise, surprise. I was just like really in my head, really not feeling good. I was supposed to have a writing session with Drew, my boyfriend, and this writer James Droll, who I love working with. He's in Nashville, so we were gonna do a Zoom session. And I remember just like being in my room feeling so upset, feeling so shaky, so anxious. I just like couldn't think straight. And for some reason, I decided to grab the ukulele, and I don't play the ukulele. I don't know how to play it, but it was like in my room. So I grabbed it and I started playing these two chords, and I wrote down the whole verse and pre-chorus. Um, and that made me feel a lot better. And so I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And we went downstairs and wrote the whole song really quickly. And instead of just like making it into a full session, we were like, why don't we just record the guitar and the vocal? So we sat down. I had my phone like held up to my mouth, and Drew held one to his guitar. So it's like a two track that was put together. And we sat with the demo for a while. Um, and when it came time to put it on the project, we went in and did like, I don't know, 5 versions of production. Like Drew and I tried to crack it. We took it to our friend Nige, who did a bunch of production on the project as well, and he did like a whole version of it. We went like a Slackjaw Sylvan Esso vibe. We went more of a Holly Humberstone vibe. And when it came time to play it for my team, they just like looked at me and they were like, this isn't the same song. Like this isn't like the magic is gone. Like it's still a good song. It's just not the same. And everyone just like knew that the demo was the one that had to be like, they didn't even want me to re-record it. I was really frustrated because I was like, I don't know if it's the best performance, like it's really quiet. It's kind of out of time. Like there's a part where I like don't sing quick enough to like keep it totally in rhythm. But everyone was like, that's what makes it so special and that's what's magical about that track. So yeah, we ended up just mixing the two track that we had and we put it straight up on the EP. And I'm really happy that we did that because I think it does have some magic to it.
No, I think it does. And I mean, it has the magic, and I think it was kind of perfect for the EPs. Like you were like the entire premise of the EP is like your feelings and how you're feeling. And I think that song and like specifics, like that demo is how you were feeling at that time. Like, and I think that's what makes it so beautiful. It's not this full production based song. It's it's how you wrote it. And so I think that's
Yeah.
personally beautiful. I love demos, like, because it's so raw, and that's what you want your EP to be, is it's kind of raw with your feeling.
Yeah.
So
And
this
like the fact that I was literally bawling my eyes out before we wrote it. So it's like you could tell like in the recording my nose is stuffy and I was like was really sad that day. So I think that definitely came across in the vocal.
Yeah, it's emotional, and I think that's kind of why it hits for people, is because it is emotional. And you don't get to hear that a lot in the current industry, is because a lot of it is production, which is beautiful in itself, but you don't get, unless it's like an acoustic song, you don't always get to hear those kind of like raw emotions. And that's what I like personally, is hearing those, because it's like that's how I feel too. So I'm getting to hear your voice when you're a little sad, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sad too.
And that's like that's something that I'm really happy about too because my song 20 Nothing, we could have so easily made that just a piano vocal ballad and a lot of people wanted me to and especially Jordy, who's a co-writer on the song, he was really pushing for like piano vocal, but once Drew added that like like distorted layer to my
Mhm.
voice and like the bass came in, I was like, I'm sorry, Jordy, but like this has to be produced. So I just love production so much. But I think you're right, like having that moment to breathe and just like hear my voice and hear what I'm saying was really special.
No, I think it kind of it it helps the EP round itself out, because you
Yeah.
do have those production songs, and I think they're amazing. Because I was gonna ask this a little later, but like the production elements of your songs are like really good, and they're really different. Like I don't hear we don't hear that very often, like those kind of like those drops, or the like I don't know how to explain it because I'm not like into production, but like I hear it and I'm like, that this is something.
Yeah, like the little interlude sections.
Mhm.
I'm were you gonna ask a question? I just interrupted you.
No, you're good. Let me ask that question though, because we're kind of talking about it. So how involved were you in the production like elements of the EP? And then what does the atmosphere feel like when you're coming up with those like interludes, and it's like the like heavy dropped where it's just like it's crazy, like, because I know how I feel when I hear it. So what's the atmosphere like for you guys when you're working on it?
I love that question. So, okay, first of all, how involved am I? Um, I'm a control freak when it comes to production. First of all, I mean, there's a reason I work so heavily with my producer and boyfriend, Drew. And I think since we've done so much together at this point and we know each other on so many levels, we've just really built this dynamic where like kind of like I was saying with mouthwash, I can be like, I want it to go like this. And he's like, yes. And he like just does it. We've just built this chemistry and I'm so fortunate that he understands what I am saying when I'm trying to get ideas out without actually using like the terms. Um, But I don't like to have people work on production when I'm not there. So I always make sure when we're doing production for my stuff that we schedule out like full days where I'll go in and sit. And even if it's super tedious, because there's literally nothing like sitting in the room while somebody's picking a snare sound. Like it's hard to like sit through those days, but it's so important because I want to be involved in like every aspect of bringing this project to life. So I would say I was very involved with the production of this project, even though I didn't do any of it hands-on because I literally don't know how. I was sitting there like coming up with all the ideas with Drew and Nige. Um, and yeah, I just there's no way to describe the feeling of a song coming together when you're in the room. Like I think it's one thing when you're writing it. Like I remember when we were writing 20 Nothing. Um, it was me, Drew, Jordy, and Katie. We were all at this Airbnb in Joshua Tree. It was like really late at night. It's completely dark outside. We're sitting in this room together, so drunk, just drinking so much wine. And Drew's building out this section, and I just kept saying like I want it to be like Tame Impala drums and like farty bass, and I want it to like really just like shake the room and like do I just we were like making all these body movements, and he was pulling it together. And it was so magical, but it wasn't until we then took that song to Nige, when he made it sound the way that it sounds. It just like all came together, and you just want to like collapse and cry. It's just like this magic moment where like the thing that was in your head the whole time finally sounds the way that you were picturing it. That was such a long explanation. Holy crap. But it's just so cool. Like production is the coolest thing ever. I wish I could do it. I cannot, but being a part of it is magic.
No, I like that you kind of elaborated on that answer because it's something that I know nothing about. So I know absolutely nothing about production, but I know when I hear something, I'm like, a lot went into that one. Like, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
right.
Like, I know y'all worked really hard because that was really cool.
I mean, I'm the same way. Like when I'm listening to music, I couldn't tell you what people do. Like I know more terms now. I know more things about like how you can affect certain instruments to sound different ways. And like so when I'm listening to music, I can kind of dissect it better. Um, but production producers are crazy. I don't understand. Like they literally are sorcerers and they make magic out of nothing, and it's weird, but
Yeah,
thank God for them. They deserve everything in this world.
no, for sure. They're artists in their like own right. Like, it's insane to me that they can just hear either a voice memo of someone being like, this is what I want the beat to sound like. And they go through like the beat and then they just create it
You
and then
know?
add on and make it like super huge or like, or maybe like a little smaller because like depending on the song. But it's like, how do you do that? Like, it's
And let
beautiful.
alone like when an artist comes into the room and brings you like a bunch of references, and I love watching this happen so I can see how it must feel when I do it. But I'll go into a session for another artist and they'll bring like six different songs that sound literally nothing alike. And they're just like, I like the vibe. I like how it makes me feel. And the producer's like, okay. And they come up with a song and they make it sound exactly like a combination of all of these random songs that have nothing in common. And like, I could never do that.
No,
It's
I'm like,
special.
well, I was like, none of these sound the same. What do you want? What vibe are you giving me?
Somehow they like can see through that, and it takes a really good producer to be able to do that and make it their own at the same time. So yeah, I'm super lucky that I get to work with the people that I do. They're very talented. I don't deserve them, but here we are.
No, they're good. Like, I love, especially like what's his face, and then there's some of like the more upbeat tracks on this EP, and they just like they always have these like drops, and then like I just don't know how to explain it. It just like makes you feel good. Like, it makes you feel like, oh my God, like did that really just happen? Like, it was like really cool.
Dude, I'm glad it makes you feel that way. That was
No, I love it.
what's his
It's so much
face?
fun.
What's his face was Johnny Shore. He was the producer on that one with Drew, and he slayed. It's so good.
Oh, definitely like that. Oh, so good. I love it. I have no idea what any terms are, but they're an artist. Like, they're so good. Okay, so keeping along with the EP. So and I said this before, but I love how your music is very genuine. So, how, when you first began releasing music, was that a priority for you, or did it kind of just happen naturally when you were writing songs?
I don't, okay. Whenever I talk about my first project, it's very much like I love my first project because it was the thing that like made me start putting out music. It's called Sitting at the Kids Table. It was my first EP. But I look back at that project and I realized like I really just wanted to get music out. I didn't really care, like I wasn't as involved in like all of the steps, like the production was very much this producer I was working with at the time, and like the songs came from collaborations with so many writers, and a lot of the stories like were adaptations of things that I had like thought about and not necessarily gone through. Um but it was the thing that kind of like got me on the map and set me up as like somebody who puts out music, and I'm very grateful for it. But that was something I really wanted to pay attention to with my second project. Am I talking too much? I wanted it to be based off of very real things that I had gone through, people that I had actually met in my life. I was very careful about who I wanted to write with and like bring these stories to life. And that was the first project where I was very hands-on in the production stage. Um, so then after that, coming into like my first single after that, New Year's Eve, and then this project Melancholia, it just feels like the most authentic version of myself I ever could have put forward. And I'm so proud of it. I feel like I embody everything, or the project embodies everything that I am. And it was a process to get here, but I'm proud of the arc. I think I had to go through all of that in order to land where I am now.
I think so too, because I think you can kind of get the vibe if you go like through your discography, like from front top to bottom, you can kind of get that vibe. But I think that's just the journey of life, honestly.
I
Like you
mean, you
learn.
anyone like take like One Direct like Harry Styles. Listen to like One Direction, love One Direction,
Mhm.
but it's so different than where he's at now. But he would never have gotten here without that experience. So gotta start somewhere, you know?
Oh yeah, even like his own solo albums are literally so different from each other. Like it's
True.
I'm like, What?" Like I love them, but like sometimes I just like you listen through it and you're like, how is this the same person? Because it's like so
Right.
different.
Or
Like,
like I always use Taylor Swift as an example too, because it's like that's such a good example, like from the time she started putting out like country music to where she's at now. I almost kind of like circling back to like folk music a little bit with folklore. Like she's gone through so many different like versions of herself and like remaking herself every time to like keep it fresh and current. And I feel like that's the mark of a good artist, is someone that can adapt and like change over time as they grow up.
yeah. And then you also get to kind of learn, like, you might not have made this music back when you were first putting out stuff because you just hadn't gone through those life experiences. And then you also just didn't, because I think when you grow up, you can, and I know personally, like, I used to be super, I mean, I'm still shy, but like, I used to be super, super shy. Like, I literally did not talk to anyone ever. Like, you had to like struggle to get me to like talk to you because I
Yeah.
was so nervous and I now know so anxious about everything. So but I think once you grow up, you start feeling more and more comfortable with yourself, and you
Yeah.
start feeling more comfortable with like being open about certain things, or be like, I want to touch upon that, but it's like maybe not this one yet. And then like you just kind of grow, and I think that's just life. Like you kind of grow into your
Yeah.
music and what you're putting out.
To be honest, it blows my mind how there's people like Billie Eilish who like were putting out incredible music when they were like 15.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me because I'm like, first of all, I went through the most awkward of awkward stages, and the music I was writing was terrible. So how are there people that are like didn't get the awkward stage and just know how to write music when they're babies?
I know. I'm like,
I'll never get it.
when I was 13 to 15, I was like, that was the worst, like kind of the worst years of my life.
Horrible.
Like awful,
Horrible.
awful. Don't ever want to show pictures. Don't ever want to talk about that time because it's just awful.
I
But
have black
like
hair, if that says anything.
I've had
Like
every hair
literally.
color.
Really?
Yeah.
Black?
Yeah. I went black for a minute. I had dark brown, I had light brown, I had obviously my blonde. Because I'm like a dark blonde naturally, but I've had pink hair, I've had purple hair, blue hair, like
I love
I've
that though.
literally had I've even had red hair. So if you think Ariana
Yeah.
Grande and Victorious, that's the kind of red I had. Like I've had it all. Like
I guess my black hair was like box dye, like
yeah, same.
side swoop, braces, acne, like it was a
Yeah.
vibe. It was
Yeah.
a vibe.
The whole deep side part, like the emo
Yeah.
kid. I went through a punk phase when like Hot Topic was super like punk
Oh
with
my
like
God.
studded belts. But then I was also super girly, so I mixed them together and it was like really weird because I'd
Like
wear like a really cute skirt with like a studded belt on top and it
I
wasn't
remember
looped
that.
through anything. So I'm just like it was an accessory.
Yeah.
I like look back and I'm like, oh my God, what were you doing? But it was
Yeah,
a whole
and
vibe back then.
kids these days didn't have to do any of that. I'm just
I
like,
know.
whatever.
I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing for me, but like, geez.
So
Okay.
funny.
So we're getting close to the end. Is there anything that you want to plug or would like to tell your fans about future, like, I don't know if you even have any plans, like future tour plans or future plans for like releases or anything like that?
I'm so boring as of this current day. Like EP is out in the world. Stream Melancholia. It's good. Yeah, I had my first headline show last night. I am hopeful that that leads to a couple more shows. Like I would love to go on tour soon. It's just a matter of like, finances and finding the right fit and all of that. So I don't know. I would just say like my social media is where I update everything. So like if anyone's curious if I'm like putting out music or going on tour, I'll be putting it up there and hopefully stuff will be happening soon. Um actually, I do have a song. I have a feature song that's coming out in October. I don't think I can say who it's with because they haven't announced it yet, but I do have a song coming in October, so look out for that.
Yeah, we will keep an eye out on all socials.
Amazing.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. That makes me happy because
Yeah.
I like music and I think like I still love your I don't remember what it's called now because I don't like look at the track list when I'm listening. I just listen to it. It's your track with Jordy. Like that's
Oh, on
like
my project or his?
yours.
How to Feel Human.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know it starts with an H, but that is still one of my favorite like collabs you've done
Oh,
is that
yay.
one because I just think it's beautiful and your voices actually mesh really well. So it doesn't like feel weird. Sometimes like when people collab with each other, their voices don't match and it kind of feels weird. I still
Totally.
love it though, but like it's kind of like how do y'all know each other?
Right?
But that song in particular is still like on two of my playlists, I think. My recent playlists. Like I just can't let it go.
You keep listening. Yeah, I love that song. Jordy's like seriously one of my favorite collaborators. He's like on so many of my songs, and I feel like there's a world where we could do another collab someday down the road because I feel like it just makes sense for us. I love working with him.
No, for sure. And then also you guys get to collaborate like kind of on the back end, like on
Yeah.
songwriting and stuff. So like you each kind of have like your own little vibes in each of
Yeah.
their songs. So it works.
Yeah, I'm super lucky. I love working with him. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of everything in my world as of right now and just trying to come off of this high from the EP and try to keep plugging away on TikTok, I guess. Fun.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes just post it and leave it alone and don't look at it. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to do.
yeah.
I just filmed a car video with my parents.
Mhm.
Uh, I subjected them to that. I did, but we'll see how that one turns out because I feel like people love those videos.
No, they're cute though. Like, especially when like they're not on like social media. Like, if I would have had like my parents on it, they'd be like, "What is this? Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?" Like,
Yeah.
but
No,
I think it's so fun. Like
it was pretty funny.
seeing your loved ones in the car with you, like listening to a song or something. Like,
Yeah.
I think those are fun videos. So I can't wait to see that one. So
I'll post it today.
yay. So that was our interview with Austin. We loved getting to talk to her again and seeing what her life is like 1 year later after her sophomore EP. And we are still we're obsessed with her new EP, Melancholia. We loved learning about her songwriting process, the production elements that are in some of these songs, her demo, Nothing About Anything, and um, the headline show that she did recently, her first headline show in LA. So we are super excited that we got to talk to her again, and we hope you liked it. And definitely follow all of her social media and all of our social media down below in the description box. We will also be linking our previous interview with Austin if you would like to watch it. So thank you again.